My name's Payton Campbell. I work with Coastal Watch Association, formerly known as Ingleside on the Bay Coastal Watch Association. And I actually worked for Patrick Nye, who's one of the founders of Coastal Watch Association, as a geologist. While working for him, I would hear about his nonprofit efforts, and every so often when a permit would come up, he would ask everyone in the office to look it over and make comments. And that was the extent of my involvement in the environmental space for quite a while. And then in probably 2024, unfortunately, one of the best advocates that we had, Jennifer, who was working for our organization, unfortunately passed away, and it kind of left a gap in their permit research and some of their science, which Patrick's able to read scientific documents and kind of interpret them. He does a pretty good job, just being a scientist for all his career. And he asked me to start looking at some carbon sequestration projects that were coming up, and doing some subsurface mapping of Campbell Airport. And that's kind of where I got my first dip in the water of the environmental organization. And from there, as I did that, I got more and more involved with Coastal Watch. And in April of 2024, they asked me to come on as their air and water monitoring coordinator, which we have a bunch of air monitors that we coordinate with UT Arlington that I assist with, along with some water monitors. But also it's just general science help with permitting language, with different projects that they're working on with universities. We work with TAMUCC a lot, and now I am fully in it and not ignorant anymore. Unfortunately, the I know what's going on now, and it's pretty alarming. And so that's how I'm with Coastal Watch now. So when I first heard about Coastal Watch, and from what I understand, they originally started out concerned about sea level rise in their neighborhood. The seawall was degrading, and they were concerned with sea level rise. They wanted to do a study to figure out how it would impact their community. And from there, then they started looking at ship traffic, and then they started looking at their air quality. And when the Enbridge facility got installed, and they had one of the top oil terminals in the country right next door to them, it forced them to adapt. And originally, like I said, it was Ingleside on the Bay Coastal Watch, but as the organization's evolved over time, they are now fighting permits throughout the coastal bend. Anything that we look at and we think will be degradational to the environment, we're behind. And we've shifted focus. They shifted focus from that to legal fights and scientific research, and community science to back up our legal fights. And now we've shifted again to focusing on community education as well. And so it's just as the organization matures, it's been going through multiple evolutions, I guess, as it's adapting, and we're just trying to help the coastal bend community as much as we can now. And whether that be fighting permits, doing community science, working with universities to do scientific research. We're expanding our air monitoring network at the community level. We're working with UT Arlington. They're going to be putting in 30 more air monitors throughout the coastal bend. And we're about to replace all of our existing air monitors with brand new ones. And so we'll have almost 40 air monitors throughout the coastal bend, hopefully by the end of 2025. And they'll be accessible to the public, and you'll know what the nearest air monitor says about your air quality. So something that's really lacking with current governmental monitors. So we're looking forward to that. So I'd say the biggest roadblocks, industry, it's probably industry. Not only industry, but also the way that our government in general reaches out to the public, there's really no reaching out. It's published in a newspaper, and they leave it up to the citizens really to interpret it and come out and fight it. And so without all of the organizations that are in the coastal bend that focus on keeping the community safe and protecting our environment, no one would have any idea what would be going on. I mean, like I said, before I joined, I was I was blissfully ignorant, and I didn't know how much harm was happening. And then once you realize how much industry is coming in, and it's really difficult to fight after it's already been established. So you have to kind of get it before it's permitted, because if you miss that window, it's almost impossible to do anything at that point. And so just really knowing everything ahead of time, I think is a roadblock to everyone. But luckily, we're trying to educate along with the other organizations around the coastal bend and keep our citizens informed so they can advocate for themselves. We have had several successes since I've been with the organization, and just in the last year. One of them was, actually there's two of them, where we really advocated strongly at a community level with the Ingleside City Council. And there's a ammonia plant that's going to be, or that they're trying to bring in, that luckily the Ingleside City Council did not think was right for the community, and they voted and they denied a special use permit. And so as of right now, that's on hold. They're still trying to get permits, which another success was when they did try to get the air permit. We had so much community turnout. We packed in the TCEQ public comment period, and requested public contested case hearings from multiple people that live right on the fence line. And there was just a really good community turnout at the Portland Community Center. And so that was really encouraging to see. And then the port was also attempting to get a special use permit to establish a solar farm in the wetlands out there in Ingleside. And solar power sounds good and all, but on the wetlands themselves, it would impact the wetlands. It would impact all the wildlife that lives there. It would also affect drainage for the city. And it just, in setting up that solar farm, it also paves the way for more industry to come in and use solar power as an excuse to have a green project, like a green ammonia facility. And we really just did not want that. And luckily the Ingleside City Council, once again, after advocating, and we had really good turnout, the next council meeting after that turnout, they did come up with a vote and they denied that special use permit. So really, showing up to these city council meetings and advocating for yourself and getting other people that, educate them what's going on, and if they don't like it, you need to show up and you need to let them know. And that's a really big win when you can have community show up and really advocate for themselves. Yeah, so I'm fairly new to the finance campaign fight. The idea that you can appeal to, you go above the industry's head to who's providing the funding, and then also who's backing them through insurance company. The fact that you can go lobby to them or campaign to them is pretty impressive. I never even really registered that was a possibility. And the fact that there's been multiple successes with organizations doing that is really, really cool. It shows that, some of these bigger corporations or bigger companies, banks and whatnot, they want to appear to care for the environment. Or at least, some might legitimately care for the environment, but it affects their profit, if they're representing someone that is destroying the environment. And so it seems like with both industry, with financial, I mean, really, it's all about money. And so whether they care for the environment or not, they're going to do what's profitable. And so if we can make it to where we let them know it's not going to be profitable, then that's a winning goal.